Hello, and welcome to another Game Developers Vlog, the first in a very long time. Um, I'd say there's a good reason why it's taken so long, but at least there is a reason. And the reason is I've been rather stuck in a project, and even though I could have shown off working parts of it before, I didn't because I always felt like, well, I'd like to get this thing to work before I show it off. It'll probably just be a couple of days more. And then that became a repeating cycle until about a month had passed, a month longer than I had intended. Well, we're here now, and I'm ready to show you this. Interestingly, I'm showing you a program on a different monitor. And that's because this is such a sketchy program, literally speaking, it's a sort of sketch, I call it a prototype, that when I tried to run it on my desktop where I'm recording this, it wouldn't run. Or it would run, but it wouldn't actually display this shape in the middle, which is really the whole point. That is the point of the program. I don't know what's wrong with it. I don't care because it's just a prototype, and I know the overarching reason, and that is because I've got lots of code, and some of it is meaningful and some of it isn't. But some of it's still running despite it not being useful because I'm just I've been experimenting so much over the last several weeks. Anyway, what is this? This is a 3D graphics engine, so-called. And when we speak of engines within the context of graphics, an engine is the code that interprets and projects. Yeah, that makes that kind of graphics possible. So a 3D graphics engine interprets data intended to be shown in 3D and then displays it in 3D, such as we do here. And the reason why it's taking me so awfully long is because I'm trying to work out all the math by myself. Um, and the last problem that I solved yesterday um, took me, I think I was on my fifth try, my fifth um, method, hypothesis, and I finally found the solution. I say I try to solve all the math myself, and I do, but I haven't read up on anything. But I do sort of consult other programs. I've been mainly playing and really observing how old 3D games look and comparing them to my program to see what is the difference? How are they different? What's the difference in the look and feel of it, and then try to analyze that. And so that has actually helped me come up with some of the mathematics. So I don't know if you might say that I've used hints in that regard. Anyway, what can you do in this program? Well, first of all, the reason why I'm making it is because I want to make games in 3D, which should be rather obvious. That's one of the big things for me. I mean, making things in 2D. It's cool that they move, but I've been able to paint since I was a little boy, and I'm really good at it. So making something beautiful in 2D, it doesn't appeal to me anywhere near as much as making on the computer. I'd rather do that on the canvas or paper. But 3D isn't really possible on canvas or paper, and especially not something that you can move around in and make a space that you can experience from within. That's really exciting for me. There are other exciting things about games that don't necessarily have to be in 3D, but let's not focus on that now. Right now in this program, you can walk. I, Basically, I am moving a camera now. I'm moving the camera which we see this world through. But since there's only one other thing in this universe, this refrigerator-shaped box, it appears as though it is moving. That doesn't matter. You can move in the sort of four cardinal directions, and it doesn't matter which way you are turned. I can also turn the camera left or right, left there, and then turn it back right. It doesn't matter how I turn it, I will still move. So right now I'm moving forwards, and if I turn like this and press the same button to move forwards, I'm still, now it looks like I'm moving sideways, but I'm not really. Anyway, that's what you can do. You can move around and the most impressive thing you can do in this sort of tech demo at the moment, is move around this box. Like so, we're sort of walking in a, well, maybe a rough square around this. So I'm alternating turning the camera to keep it in view and walking a little bit. It's not terribly exciting, but it's something. Well, I said the most impressive thing, but really the most technically most impressive thing is the fact that you can, one, that you can turn the camera, and two, that you can, I'll show you soon. Now we've made one full lap around this thing. If I can walk towards it, and you can, it can display these lines correctly, even though they are going off screen, which was a big, that's one of the things I've been working on, and it's not quite perfect yet, not entirely perfect. There are slight discrepancies. I don't know if you can tell that this little line, as I go off screen and move a little bit, it flips. You can see it relative to my finger there. It sort of flips to the right a bit, ever so slightly. It shouldn't do that because I'm walking in the same direction and this is a straight line. It should keep pointing in precisely the same direction. I've had that's one thing I've been working a lot on lately, and I had a lot of problems with that. But it was a good thing that I had problems with it, because it led me to, in the end, yesterday, a load of realizations that helped me essentially write the definitive version of this code. So that's what we have. Oh, if you're curious, how does this work? Um, the program essentially only has these points, the corners of this shape, defined to it for it as coordinates. The code then sort of interprets where they are relative to the camera and determines if they are within the field of view or not. And then it draws lines between them. That's why it's so difficult to draw a line that goes off screen, or relatively speaking, difficult. Was for me anyway, because once a point is not on screen anymore, it's much harder to reference. And it would be, I mean, I could just pretend that the screen is much bigger and put like a much larger flat canvas, and I did that to begin with, but that doesn't take into account, for example, things being behind you, because then it just looks as though even if something's behind you, the program will draw a line to the side, because the program interprets it as behind you is but just really far to the left or to the right. Oddly. I can go out of this. I've zoomed in enormously on my code here to show you. Just, you can see here. These are the sort of points. Not that one. Not point 1b. Let me do that. These are the points. The 8 points of this box, and these are the 3 coordinates, the x, y, and z coordinates of each point, which, as you can see, can be both positive and negative. So as for reference, the camera starts in the position 0, 0, 0. And so, for example, on the x-axis, negative is to the left and positive is to the right. Or then also, above, below, in front of, and behind, respectively. What am I going to do next? Well, if I go back into the program, this sort of display is often referred to as a wireframe display, because it is completely, as you can see, this box is completely transparent. I can see all corners of it, all edges of it. And it's only defined by, well, it's defined by the points, really, but visually speaking, it's more defined by its lines. So it looks as though you made a box shape of just thin, like steel wire. And hence it's called wireframe. You made a frame out of wire. You can see through that and see all the intricacies of its construction or its structure. And now that I've basically cracked all the code that I need to have a solid uh, well-functioning wireframe display. I'm almost there. You cannot look up and down yet, although as far as I can see, it shouldn't be any different than looking left and right. Um, I'm not entirely sure if there's going to be some complication between the two, but I'm sure we'll be able to tell eventually as I try it. I'm not even sure I'm going to try that at first. Maybe I'll introduce looking up and down at the same time as I'm introducing sort of colored surfaces, because the next thing to add here is surface color, or at least just solidity, so that you wouldn't be able to see the further lines, that line, that line, that line. So half of these lines shouldn't be visible, right? Because you can only see half of an object at any given time, unless you're using mirrors, so it's like a modicum of solidity, at least visual solidity, if that makes any sense. And probably like to give these surfaces some kind of color, maybe even different colors for every surface on that object. Either that or the same color but rudimentary lighting. So that's saying that lighting comes from a specific angle, and colors are darker if they face the more they face away from that, or brighter the more they face towards it. Whatever I don't know what the standard is going to be. Uh, that is sort of the next steps. Shall we say the next grand step? The next tiny step, I might actually just continue working on this wireframe and enable the user to place objects such as little cubes walk around and place little cubes in it for fun. That would make it more fun to look at this, and also give a better sense of how it works. I've sometimes used the display with two boxes to to compare that. It gives a better sense of how well the engine is working, really. Anyway, that is a rather comprehensive update of what I've been doing lately. I hope to give you more updates more often soon. That should be the case because, as I said, I feel I've solved the final tricky bit of the first stage here. Then when it comes to adding so-called textures, meaning not just a single color to a surface, but an image. So maybe I take a photograph of my painting, import that into computer, and tell the program to display it here. And then that should be able to be scaled, make it smaller or bigger if you're going closer or further away from it. Let's say that you're turning like this, so it should become skewed. You should only see a small portion of it, etc. This will be tricky, I'm sure. But we're not quite there yet. That's going to be a few months, I'm sure, before I'm even there. So with that, I'd like to say thank you for watching. If you're new here and you're curious about what I'm going to do with this or what other things I do, I suggest you look in the description of this video, where there will be a few links to my webpage, my Instagram, my Twitch, where I stream. Well, basically that, a few other links like my web shop and such. I also paint and write and design fashion. So there's plenty to explore if you're so inclined. Thank you very much for watching this for more than 14 minutes now. And so I'd like to wish you a good time of day and goodbye.